me a fucking nothing!
That's all I'm gonna say, and all I feel like I really need to say. Welcome to the jungle, everyone. I'm Kyle Phelps, and you like that? I'm sure Kirk Cousins didn't like that, but I'd have to say the majority of us loved Super Wildcard Weekend. For the most part, it was full of amazing games, full of intrigue, action, and some really fun plays. For the most part. Hell, even the 7th seeds made things interesting this year. But before we get into the rankings this week, I'd just like to ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It really helps my channel out, and it helps you know when all of my content comes out. So, full disclosure, this is going to feel a lot like the normal Power Rankings episode, but we're only doing the top 14 teams because all the other teams are kind of frozen in time right now until after the season, when I'm probably going to do a Power Rankings projection episode. Shout out to Davis Dull for that idea, by the way. But this week, I'm going to change up the categories a little bit. There's only 3 categories this time, and the third one is ranking all the teams that lost this weekend, so there's going to be a bit more than normal. The top 2 categories only have 4 teams each, so let's go ahead and dive into it. First up, I've got the bottom tier. I just called it the just glad to be part of it tier, because honestly, making the playoffs is probably the most that a lot of these teams could have hoped for. At number 14, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we all knew that an 8-9 team that came from a division that felt like it was going to let the first 10-loss team ever into the playoffs this year was probably going to get smacked this weekend, and that is what happened. The real final score of this game was more like 31-7 until there was some garbage time points at the end. I don't know if Tom Brady's washed or not, but I do know that he isn't winning any more Super Bowls with Tampa. Number 13, I've got the Minnesota Vikings. We all knew this team was probably fraudulent the way they ended up 13-4, right? Barely winning most of those games and absolutely getting blown the hell out in other games. But they got a rematch this week with the Giants team that they'd already beaten this year, and they made Daniel Jones look like a god. So, I mean, I really cannot respect that, Minnesota Vikings. Number 12, I've got the Los Angeles Chargers.
Please give me a fucking nothing!
That's all I'm going to say, and all I feel like I really need to say. Fire Brandon Staley into the sun. Number 11, I've got the Seattle Seahawks, who kept that game with the Niners close for a minute. Like I said, the 7 seeds did not disappoint this year, and they gave me hope that this new playoff format maybe isn't completely the stupidest thing ever. They ended up getting blown out in the 4th quarter, but they were winning at halftime, so kudos, Seahawks. Number 10, the Miami Dolphins were the other number 7 seed. I really wanted to rank them among the best of the losers because they almost took down the Buffalo Bills with a 3rd-string quarterback this week. There's been talk about them considering Mike McDaniel because of the season collapse they kind of had this year, but they put together a hell of a game plan this week and damn near pulled it off. Finally, number 11, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. Another team that almost pulled off a stunning upset this weekend. There's a lot of talk about firing John Harbaugh now, which I just don't agree with at all. He got that team ready to play, quite frankly. Yeah, the locker room appears to be ripping apart at the seams, but they still got ready to play a tough AFC North-style football game, even with the Lamar Jackson distraction. Okay, so kudos to all the first-round losers. Some of them showed us why they belong this weekend, and others... oh boy. But anyway, this is where it gets really interesting. The next category I renamed for now to Never Say Never because these teams advanced and got wins. I'm just not really quite ready to crown them yet. Number 8, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. 27-0 doesn't happen because you're a great football team, honestly. Like, look at what happened with the Vikings. They came back from 33-0, and look at what the rest of their season's been. So, I mean, it takes guts, to be fair. But at the same time, like, I'm concerned that they let it get to 27-0 in the first place. All the credit in the world for them to coming back and actually winning the game. But I think it's going to take more than that to beat the Chiefs next week. Then again... Anyway, number 7, I've got the Dallas Cowboys, who looked pretty vulnerable going into the playoffs this year. They put together an absolute beatdown on the least deserving playoff team in the NFL this weekend, and I'm giving them some credit for that. But I want to see it against a team that matters. The 49ers should be a good test this upcoming weekend. Number 6, it's the New York Giants. Is Daniel Jones going to play like that every week? Probably not, but Brian Daboll is a hell of a coach, and as long as they've got him, they'll be good. I'll be impressed if they can beat the Eagles, but the last time that these two teams went head-to-head in a game that mattered, it really didn't go so well for the Giants. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Finally, number 5, I've got the Buffalo Bills. I'm a little concerned about that collapse I saw against the Dolphins this weekend. Josh Allen looked more like the old Josh Allen than the new one with all those turnovers, and oh man, this next matchup for the Bills, it's going to separate the boys from the men. So, you know, we'll see who the Buffalo Bills really are when they play the Bengals next week. Finally, this last category is keeping the same name. It's the Super Bowl caliber teams, and speaking of that oh so exciting matchup coming up, number 4, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. I saw some concerning signs against the Ravens this week, which is why I dropped them a little bit in my power rankings. With an offensive line as banged up as it is, and Jonah Williams likely out against the Bills with a dislocated kneecap, forgive me if I'm a little nervous. If they can get past the Bills, it sounds like there's a good chance that both Jonah and Kappa can come back. So there's potentially a lot of confidence if they can get past them. But this upcoming rematch against Buffalo is going to tell us a lot about who these two teams are. Number 3, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs staying in place because they had a bye week, and that's just what I do on bye weeks. They're playing the red-hot Jaguars this week, though, so you better watch out. Number 2, I've got the San Francisco 49ers, who remembered how damn good they are in the fourth quarter. I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little worried about them at first, but then they pulled themselves together and they reminded the whole world why they're bona fide contenders. Finally, at number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles also remain in place after a bye. They should make short work of this Giants team coming up this week, but I don't know, man. They did struggle against their backups the last time these two teams played. They beat the crap out of their starters earlier in the year, but they struggled against the backups. So here's the whole list again in full context of all the categories at once. Don't worry about the non-playoff teams. They're essentially frozen in time until I do a next year projection episode. But as far as these postseason power rankings go, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will feature the best ones in my next power rankings video, like this one from Ethan Bruley, who said, "Very generous for my Broncos." Now, I already responded to this comment, but I wanted to, expound upon it a little bit. I know the Broncos didn't make the playoffs, but I still wanted to talk about them a little bit. That Broncos team that I saw down the stretch, that was a lot closer to the Broncos team that I think a lot of people were expecting to see with Russell Wilson. Maybe not quite to that level, but still pretty good. Nathaniel Hackett, quite frankly, might have been their biggest problem. I think the other problem was that people expected Russ to be in Hall of Fame form right away, even though that almost never happens with free agent quarterbacks. I think people were expecting Peyton Manning 2.0, and that was just never gonna happen. But like I said, that's all I got for this week, y'all. Y'all can always catch more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, Butt Fumble Sports, Battle of Ohio Podcast, which is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and right here if you subscribe. I hope that just like last year, the divisional round is as incredible to watch as the wild card round was this year, man. Other than the Monday night game. But anyway, I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hootie!